right? So you actually like to do numerical problems, which mean that you like to do mathematical things more. But in the real world, you need both. You need discussions so that you can understand the problems, and you need mathematical problems so that you can solve them. And any engineer who can solve all the numerical problems but does not know what to really do with this knowledge is not a good engineer. Okay, so now let us go to this problem. The desired volume flow rate of the molten metal into a mold is 0.01 meter cube per minute. The top of the sprue has a diameter of 20 millimeter and its length is 20 millimeter. What diameter should be specified at the bottom of the sprue in order to prevent aspiration? What is the resultant velocity and Reynolds number at the bottom of the sprue if the metal being cast is aluminum and has a viscosity of 0.004 Newton second per square meter? Right? So now this is a problem. Now reminding you, you have been with me in different courses and so on, but reminding you that for all courses, not this, for all courses, whenever there is a numerical problem, there are some basic essentials to be a good problem solver. One, that please read the problem carefully. Read it once more. Take 1 extra minute. Don't be in a hurry and start solving it. If you are in a hurry and you start solving it and you realize after 10 minutes that you have gone into a wrong direction, then those 10 minutes are gone. But if you give that 1 extra minute, reread it carefully and understand what is exactly required, then you are in a very good place. There is a famous saying which is there in every language, but in English it says, a problem well understood is half done. So you see, 50% of the solution is understanding the problem. So that is the first requirement. Please read it carefully, reread it. Second, which I always want to encourage you to do, is that please write the knowns and the unknowns. Read it, but take that half minute, 1 minute more, write the knowns and the unknowns, that this is known, this is known, this is known with their units, and this is unknown. Because now if the knowns and unknowns are there and you have a set of equations that you know, then you know that this problem belongs where, to which equation. Right now you are in this chapter, so you know what equations are there. At the end of the course, there are 5-6 chapters covered, so you don't know which equations will be applicable. With me in any course, if I am free to make decisions, if I am not sharing the course with somebody else, I would like every course to be open book. That you see, you try to understand my lectures and everything, you interact with me as much as you can. I don't want you to memorize anything. I want you to really seriously understand everything. So at the exam and quiz time, the book is with you. You can look into the book, into the formulas, into the tables and so on. But generally here, in our atmosphere, even in Europe and America, many other professors dislike it, that no, I mean, this gives you too much, then I am restricted with the type of questions I ask. Also, the students sometimes get really worried that if it is open book, then all the questions will be very tough, which it will not be, but they are worried. So I decide for a middle way, that I prepare with a lot of care a big formula sheet, right, which covers all the numerical formulas that are there in each chapter. And every time you have a quiz or a midterm or an exam, I share that with you. I bring that with the question paper to the class. I could also ask you that you write your formulas on a paper and bring it. But then, you see, I want to be very fair. Everybody in the class should have access to the same information. So now somebody has copied few formulas, somebody has copied more formulas, somebody is writing some other things also inside. That is difficult to control. It is much easier that you see, you just bring your paper, pencil and so on, sorry, your pencil, calculator and so on. I will give you the question paper, I will give you the formula sheet, I will give you the answer sheet to write on. right? So in my courses then, the formula sheet will always be available. So you read the problem, write the knowns and the unknowns, select the proper formulas and start solving. Okay, so please, the second thing I'm reminding you, because this is the first numerical in the course this time, I keep on requesting you that please, if you want to be a good student, then before you come to this class, revise what was covered last time. If you do that, you spend very little time, because the previous class is still fresh in your mind and you have revised it soon. You take only 20-25 minutes to revise the whole lecture. If there were any numerical problems in the previous, revise that also. So you are already preparing yourself for any quizzes or exams, and it will take very little time. But if you keep 3-4 lectures together without revision, and then 1 day, 2 days before the quiz you start to revise all of them, this happened 2 weeks ago, more than that ago, it is not fresh in your mind. You take much more time, much longer to revise the same material. And because now you are revising too much together, therefore mentally also you are not so sharp anymore. So if you delay this revision work, then you spend more time, and the profit you gain out of it, the benefit that you gain out of it is less. So if you want to be a good student and you also want to enjoy your life, the best thing is to save time by quick revisions. Okay, so that is one thing. Second, I have included examples in these lectures which are really good examples, so that if you think about them, if you understand them critically, then you are already like an average student, right? So whatever solved examples are there, please do not read the solution. Please do not listen to the solution. Solve it yourself. Solve it yourself. There are solved examples which we will cover in the class. There may be 1 or 2 other solved examples in the book which we did not get the time to solve, right? Then I will give you some homework problems to practice. So if you can do all the examples independently yourself, not looking at my solution, and if you can solve all the homework problems, then you are already above average in the class. After that, if you want A minus A and something very high grade, then at the end of each chapter, some problems are given. Some of them we have already solved and so on, but select a few other problems and solve it. And whenever you have a problem in solving any of those, you can ask me in the online sessions or by email and so on. Okay, right? So this was a general policy. We spent 3-4 minutes on that, but please remember that do not read the solutions. Do not listen to the solutions directly. Solve it first. So right now in this question, pause it here, take a pencil, paper, whatever, solve this problem yourself. You can go back into the lectures, yes, to see the equations. You should not move forward. Challenge yourself that no, I am very good, I am one of the brightest, I will solve it myself. It is not a big issue. Once you are 100% sure that your solution is right, you don't solve it in a hurry. Solve it, revise it, and see if you've done any mistakes. When you are sure of your answers, then look into the next slide and so on, so you compare. And if you find where you did your errors, then it will be great, because if you find where you did an error, then in the future you don't do it. But if you directly read the problem, then that's it. So please pause my lecture here, solve it yourself, and then restart it. Okay, so you have come to me after the pause. Data, this is the volume flow rate, capital Q. This is the volume flow rate, meter cube per minute. This is the diameter at the top. So if they are talking the top of the sprue and the bottom of the sprue, then let us call the top 1 and bottom 2 just to give some number. So this is a small d1, a small d1. It is 20 millimeter. So it is 20 into 10⁻³ meter, right? If you write everything in standard units. They say the length of the sprue, actually the height of the sprue, right? The height of the sprue, call it length. This is 200 millimeters. So this height is h, a small h, right? This is a small d1. This is a small h. 200 into 10 raised to minus 3 meter. Okay. What diameter should be at the bottom? That is one question. So dia 2, small d2 is equal to unknown. What is the resultant velocity? V2. You see, velocity at the top is V1, velocity at the bottom is V2. So V2 is equal to unknown. Reynolds number at the bottom, RE, Reynolds number is unknown. Okay. And it is aluminum and has a viscosity of this 0.004 Newton. So this is eta, the viscosity. Now here in this problem, they have not given the density of aluminum because the book is there and in the tables you can find the density. But we will see later on. If I am giving you the problem, then most probably I will give you the density. If I don't give you the density, then you will have to find it from the tables because density will be required, right? So now you plan. You see, what is the Reynolds number? There will be an equation for Reynolds number, find the values and write it, right? And so on. But what will be the diameter at the bottom? What will be the diameter at the bottom? How will you solve it? What is the equation for the flow rate? Q is equal to A1 V1 is equal to A2 V2, right? Volume flow rate Q is equal to area into velocity. So it is A1 V1 at the top and it is A2 V2 at the bottom. It is the same. Volume flow rate is the same, but because the area is changing, the velocity is changing, right? So Q is equal to A1 V1. Is diameter, is A1 known? No, A1 is not known, but it is a sprue. So area at any location is a circle, right? What is the area of a circle? Pi r square or pi d square by 4. Yes. So pi d square by 4. Is d given at the top? Yes, d is given at the top. So can you find the area at the top? A1 is equal to pi d1 square by 4. Yes, you know it. So you can find the area at the top. Q is equal to A1 V1. Is Q given? Yes, Q is equal to Q is given. So from Q is equal to A1 V1, Q is given. A1 has been found out. You can now find the velocity at the top of the sprue, V1, right? Velocity at the top of the sprue. Yes or no? You can find it now, isn't it? Great. Now what? A1 V1 is equal to A2 V2, right? A1 V1 is equal to A2 V2. How do you do it? So you have this equation and you have the Bernoulli equation. You have the Bernoulli equation, isn't it? So now let us see, isn't it? So you can use the continuity equation combined with the Bernoulli equation and then you can find out the things.